to me, that describes what a hell of an assistant should be, Bob.
Oh, I agree because you've been one yourself. The most important thing I told somebody when I came here, the first most important thing I had to do was listen and learn. But then, as you know, as an assistant coach, because we just got through talking about it, all these head coaches are different. So a really good assistant coach can adapt. And
Mm.
each head coach I've worked for needed something a little bit different for me. It's my job to find out what it is and then own that and not overstep those boundaries. We got an amazing staff here.
Yep.
It's just not me. There's some people here that worked for Kim back in the Baylor days, and this is a well-oiled machine. I tell everybody right now, my claim to fame is I haven't found a way to screw this up yet.
Hey, welcome to another Coaching You podcast with the Coach Brendan Suhr, with Zach Kendrick, and our guest today will be Bob Starkey, the associate head coach of the LSU Women's Tigers basketball team, currently ranked very high in the country at 20-0. And Kim Mulkey has one of the best teams in the country with a big showdown next Monday against the Tennessee Vols, who are also 8-0, with our South Carolina Gamecock women defending national champs. So it's a great SEC as always. But Bob Starkey, let me tell you, one of our dearest friends in coaching. He's one of the people that I love and look up to and learn from. And I think you'll see why. Zach, tell our listeners about a few of Bob Starkey's accomplishments on his resume.
Bob's a legend, and if you ever got to be around him, you know why. For those that don't know him and aren't familiar, he's been coaching for almost 40 years on both the men's and women's side. I believe he's got over 800 wins now as an assistant, 24 NCAA tournaments, 8 Elite Eights, 5 Final Fours. One of those was actually as an acting head coach in 2007. He's coached under 3 Hall of Famers, Dale Brown on the men's side, then Sue Gunter, and now Kim Mulkey. I think he's coached 5, isn't that right? 5 top 5 picks in the WNBA and NBA draft with Shaq, Chris Jackson, or Ahmed Abdul-Rauf, Simone Augustus, Sylvia Fowles, Kelsey Bone, and then 7 of those have actually ended up going on to make all-rookie team. Bottom line, like I say, Bob, he's just a legend. When I was coming through LSU, I was able to see him work from a distance, and that was in his first stint there. And then, you hear all the stories about him as you have with Johnny Jones over the years, which made me respect him even more. And he's a lifelong learner, which you'll obviously get to hear in this episode. And the Tiger in me, I'm wearing my stripes today. The Tiger in me is thrilled to see him back at LSU where he belongs.
Well, after this, word from our partners and sponsors, you're going to come back and you're going to really, really learn from one of the great assistant coaches of all time in basketball, men's or women's coaches, and you're going to see why he is a special, special individual. We're thrilled to have our longtime partners and friends at Dr. Dish Basketball on board as sponsors of the Coaching You podcast. Dr. Dish machines are undoubtedly the most user-friendly and advanced machines in the world of basketball today. Dr. Dish has completely revolutionized and reimagined the shooting machine to provide the best solution on the market. Join top programs around the world like Duke, North Carolina, Florida, and countless others and upgrade your shooting machine to Dr. Dish. Dr. Dish machines are the best way to increase purposeful reps in your program to get players better, faster, while tracking progress along the way. Dr. Dish provides so much more than just your standard shooting machines with custom training, pro trainers, and coaches on demand, real-time and detailed analytics, and top-of-the-line drills and workouts. If you're looking to take your program to the next level, look no further than Dr. Dish for the best basketball training machine in the world. If you have an old machine that's just collecting dust in your gym, did you know that you can trade that in to Dr. Dish for up to $1,500 off and get a new dish? Make sure to give our friends at Dr. Dish a follow at Dr. Dish B-Ball on Twitter and Instagram for great daily drills, workouts, tips, and inspiration. Or contact us at drdishbasketball.com. Don't forget to mention Coaching You or our podcast for $300 off your purchase. Coaches, are you looking to take your game preparation to the next level? Then Fast Model Sports is the perfect coaching software for you. With FastDraw, build an organized library of plays and drills and create professional playbooks to share with your players and staff. You can also download over 9,500 free plays and drills from our Playbank directly to your FastDraw account. Looking for a better way to build your scouting reports and want to include video? With FastScout, build custom scouting report templates to prepare your team best for each individual opponent. Plus, did you know with the latest updates from Fast Model Sports, you can now include video with your FastScout reports and share with your coaches and staff all within the FastScout mobile app. The combination of FastDraw and FastScout is by far the best way for you and your coaches to create winning game strategies and effectively communicate them to your team. Over 10,000 high school and youth coaches trust Fast Model Sports products to help their teams reach their goals. To order, go to fastmodelsports.com. Use code COACHINGU15 to get 15% off any FastDraw or FastScout products. Remember, go to fastmodelsports.com. Use code COACHINGU15 to get 15% off any FastDraw and FastScout products. All right. Well, listen, I am so excited that, coming back from our break, that Bob Starkey, one of my dearest friends, and I like to say, Bob, even though you're younger than I am, I like to say you're my mentor, but everyone's got to have a mentor, and shit, mine are half dead, most of mine. So I'm excited that you're my mentor. And, one of the, learning is something that's so important to both of us. How did you ever, coming out of, a hotbed of coaching in West Virginia, like you did, how did learning ever, reach the pinnacle of where it is in your life right now?
Well, I think in my situation, it was the people that I worked for and I admired at an early age. I'll start with my junior high coach, Alan Osborne, who later gave me one of my first coaching jobs on the high school level. And he was a continual learner, always going to college practices, always going to clinics, always reading, and always taking me with him, sliding a book to me. Had me over the house. So early on, Alan was somebody I admired greatly for his knowledge. And I observed how he did that by being a continual learner. So I think that got me off on the right foot. And then, as you know, anybody that's in this business for any extent of time that's relevant, they're continual learners. There's no other way to stay in the business and be successful unless you're constantly looking for ways to grow and improve. So I've been around some of the best, and they've set a great example for me.
So when you are starting as a coach, did you ever know, because this question is often asked to me now, did you ever visualize yourself being a person that others were coming to learn from, and that you were promoting the learning through your blog and your website, that you would just be the person that people were learning from?
Well, certainly not in the beginning.
Sure.
In the beginning, I think one of the best things I have going for me is I have a great understanding of what I don't know. And so, when you have that mindset, you're constantly seeking out knowledge. Now, along those roads, I think that I still don't feel like I'm one of those people that is passing on knowledge. I feel like I'm sharing knowledge with others. I've certainly you're at the top of that list. I have a great circle of friends that we have great opportunities to pass knowledge, to share knowledge. When I was A&M, I had to have you come speak at my clinic, and all those kinds of things. I think there's a group of coaches in there that we inspire each other to share. I mean, that's the way we grow the game. The best way to grow the game is to grow those that lead and teach the game. And so I think with us, especially in our older years, we feel a great responsibility. I know our friend Don Meyer in his later years The most important thing to him was to stay relevant. He felt the best thing he could do to stay relevant was to teach the teachers. And so I kind of think that as we all get older, and we've been blessed with people like that, we feel the need to take the reins and do what those people did for us.
You might be, there's a circle of you, Jimmy Boone, and I was not being facetious or being a wise ass when I was saying West Virginia, and to me, is one of the cradles of coaching. I mean, Jim Boone, Nick Saban, Donnie Jones, Sean Finney, Jimbo Fisher. There's so many great coaches from there. Mike D'Antoni, Dan D'Antoni. There's so darn many of them. So that was not meant to be. I just found that the people there are so special because they're so giving. And Saban is one of my heroes because I learned, like you, I learn more from football coaches now at my age. Now than the basketball coaches.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, yeah. 100%. Of course, I was blessed my first tenure here at LSU. Coach Saban was the football coach.
Yes.
And he was somebody that was always willing to share with other coaches. It's probably a side of him that unless you've worked in a building with him, you don't understand that, whether he's speaking to us, talking to our players. One of the most evolving things I've learned in coaching is the process of not being concerned about results, but being concerned about the day-to-day operations of execution and growth and competing. And certainly it means a lot to me that Nick came from my home state.
Yes.
But another friend of ours, Buzz Williams, that was one of the things I got from him. He meticulously studies football coaches because of the type of organization and the structure that they have for the abundance of staff members and players. I mean, it's just a different level of teaching. And I do think this, Brennan, you know this, I think the best coaches find people outside their world to learn from, outside the box, whether it's a coach in another sport, whether it's a business leader. There's so many people to learn from if you're open-minded.
I always look and see who Coach Saban brings in every summer to speak to his teams, yes. Right? Because here's the best coach in the world. And he has other people coming in. And basically he knows whether it's Kobe Bryant or Ernie Johnson or Charles Barkley or Stephen A. Smith, they're going to say the same things that he's saying, but it's a different person saying it. And
how about this?
Yeah.
My favorite part of those is guess who's in the front row taking the most notes?
Yeah. How about that?
It's Nick.
Just like Zig Ziglar with John Gordon, right? Sitting in the front row.
Story.
Yeah. And so I just love that he's there. People, I think, in our generation of young players and young coaches that are on kind of an microwave type of mentality of how do I get there? I want to be just like you, coach, but you haven't even coached a game yet. But when you say the process to them, it's like you're BSing them and you're not telling them the truth. They don't understand. They want something where literally they can do something in 5 minutes. It snaps to magic and stuff, but the process is the whole key, isn't it?
It really is. And I tell people all the time, my first job was on the NAI level, coaching the men's program. And the year before I came in at West Virginia State College, they'd gone 4-18. And I was paid $6,000, given a dorm room and a meal card. And our first year, we won 18 games, and the athletic director called me in and said, I hate to do this, Bob, but we got budget cuts. I got to drop you to $4,000, and we can't afford the meal card. The next year, we won 26 games, and he said, Bob, I'm so embarrassed. He said, we got to drop your salary to $2,000, and, we're not going to be able to afford the dormitory. So I grabbed my clothes, moved into my office, and that's where I lived for a year. And while I'm living there, I'm doing the laundry. Brendan, I know you've been down this path before. Yeah. I'm doing the laundry after practice and making recruiting calls and watching film, and then going down and moving the socks into the dryer. And then you had to do it all. We didn't have a secretary, so we're doing handwritten letters. And but I learned so much. One of the most important things that happened to me is my first ever coaching opportunity was simply to scout for my local high school, and I learned so much from scouting. And I would never be the coach that I am today if I didn't learn to grind and do all those little details and learn the game the way I learned them. And you're 100% right. There's so many young people that just want to graduate from college and jump right into that big D1 job, and they're going to really miss out on an important growing part of the game.
So many of the people in your circle that had an opportunity to either play for, work for, coach with, um, you know, our dear departed friend, you honor him almost every Monday, it seems like, Coach, with some of the stories and stuff. How'd you get so infatuated with Coach Meyer and stuff? I mean, I got to meet him probably in my mid 1990s. I got to meet him when he came to Michigan once to do a clinic, and he called me, and I was like, I'd already won championships, gold medal, and I'm like, my God, Don Meyer just called me, and I'm like, he said, "Can you come and speak at my clinic?" Yeah. Next thing I know, I did half of the clinic for him, and I'm sitting there, and I'm saying, I just did a half of a clinic for this guy, and I didn't ask him about, do I get anything or anything? He said, pick out any videos you want, and I'll give them to you. I didn't. I was just so honored by him and stuff. But he was sitting there learning, and I was learning from him. He was like I was lucky, as you know, to play for UB in high school, Brown, and I put Don Meyer in that same category as a teacher coach.
He was the best. My relationship with Don started when I was on Dale's staff at LSU, and he said, "Hey, there's this great NAI coach in Nashville. He has a free clinic in the fall. You need to go up there." And I went up there, and the clinic was just lights out. It was, 2.5 days of nothing but basketball, where Coach Meyer taught everything under the sun, on the court, off the court. And I'll never forget when I came back, sent a letter to him through our secretary, a nice type letter, saying how much I enjoyed and how much I learned. And I got a handwritten note on yellow legal pad saying, "Bob, this is NAI stationery. Next time you come through town, you're staying at the house." Well, Don in Nashville had a 3-story house with 9 guest bedrooms, and it was Grand Central Station. You never went there. Some of my best relationships, Dean Locke was one of my dearest friends.
Mine too.
I met him the first time I stayed at Don's house. We shared a room up on the 3rd floor. So Don, and he connected with everybody, but there something, we just become very, very close. I mean, to the point where he would travel to Baton Rouge and stay at my house, and he would speak at our clinics, and I went and visited him every year. And he would come down. He'd bring his wife Carmen, who is a absolute saint for putting up with all of us coaches through the years. When my wife was going through breast cancer, unbeknownst to me, I found out that Coach was calling her more than he was calling me. So
Awesome.
It was just a real personal connection. And he taught me so much. But again, to your point, here's a guy that was another continual learner. If you ever went to Lipscomb and went to his office, and there's just like 10 4-drawer filing cabinets full of clinic notes, and he would allow you to go through there and pull anything, put it on the copier. He was the ultimate sharer of basketball.
Yeah. I think so much of our learning that we've had is coming through. And this is where, for young coaches that are listening, and Bob, as you know, we have coaches all over the world that listen to this. I love to teach X and O's as you do, but this is the things that I think are the separators for them, is that relationships, I think, are the most valuable asset you can have. I've never had a resume in 50 years of coaching. I never will have a resume. If they say you need one for the job, I'm out.
Yeah.
I say, sorry, Google me, that's it. I don't have one of those resumes and stuff. But the relationships that we have, they're the difference maker, aren't they?
100%. And that's an everyday deal. Your ability to create and maintain levels of trust with your players, the people you work with, the people in your community. It's just everything. And it's constant communication, with the number one factor being a great listener. And it's an understanding that relationships and communication has changed over the years. Tim Elmore, I know you know Tim.
We love Zach and I love Tim
Unbelievable.
Elmore.
He came to A&M a few years ago and spoke, and he told an amazing story about in the beginning of time, there was a river, and you went down to the river and you cupped your hand and you brought the water to your mouth and you drank it. Then later we learned how to scoop it. Then later we created a well and then piping, and now we got holy cow, we got water in bottles. Well, guess what? Water has never changed in a million years, but the packaging has. And it's the same thing with communication. It's how you package it. And that, when you go to the grocery store, there's all kinds of different bottled waters. Well, you got all kinds of different players. You have to package your messages different to each player. And that only comes about after you create a relationship and you get to know them, you understand their why and what's important to them.
Greg Sankey is someone I hold in very high regard. And I remember when I came to LSU back in 2015, I get a message from the SEC office. I have to be able to coach this year, I have to go take their orientation for coaching program.
Yes.
I've been coaching for 40 years, but I have to go to an orientation program in Birmingham. And we're practicing now because I missed the summer one. And so I said to Johnny Jones, your dear friend of mine, and Zach's, and I said, hey, Coach, they're making me not go to practice day. I have to go to Birmingham for this. He says, hey, you got to do what you got to do. So I go there, and, it's all the BS meeting that you have about, following compliance, all that. And then they said after lunch, there'll be a guest speaker. Oh, God, the guest speaker, just what I could imagine what it's going to be. The guest speaker is Tim Elmore. And I came back from there and I said to Zach, he said, how was the thing? I said, it was the greatest. The orientation was great. No, Tim Elmore is great. Tim Elmore. And he's been a dear friend of ours since. And we love him. He's taught so much. And to me, every coach needs to read everything about that Tim Elmore says, does. And if I could go and take another job, for a semester type of thing or a year, I'd go work for Tim Elmore. I mean, talk about learning curve. And, and he talked about, the Gen Z, the Gen X. Now we're down to Alpha, maybe now, the youngest kids. And when I go to do our visits to colleges now and pro teams, I say to the coaches, what's the attention span of these players you have? And they say, 30 minutes, no more, 30 minutes. I said, 30 minutes, huh? Really? You've researched that? Oh, no, but we show them video for 30 minutes. So how long are your practices? Oh, yeah. How about your drills? They go through all this. I said, I hate to disillusion you, but this really close friend of ours who's got a PhD in teaching and learning, he says your players, it's really 3 to 5 seconds. Now, that's scary. Attention span of players. So if you can't adjust and adapt to that, you're in trouble, right, Bob?
Oh, you really are, and it's in every single facet. We changed the way we showed film and the way we presented scouts because of Tim Elmore.
Mm-hmm.
When I was at Texas A&M, we used to give them these nice big 8-9 page scouting reports, and now they're down to about 2-3 pages. They're done in bullet points, not paragraphs. A bigger part of the scouting report is what we go over that we ask them to write down. We don't show them a full scout in one day. We show them bits and pieces here and there because they'll grasp it. Yeah. And otherwise, if you're into communicating, you need to study Tim Elmore.
Yes, that's
whether
great.
You're coaching, whether you're leading, whether you're a parent,
yes,
I would be studying Tim Elmore.
That's powerful. Yeah, that's powerful. So you keep coaching every year. You don't take sabbaticals like I do. But one of the best year that I've had in coaching was about 10, 11 years ago when you and I did daily clinics at the University of Central Florida, UCF, and you were there on your 1 year away from LSU before you went to Texas A&M. That was like all of a sudden when our friend Joy Williams said, and Greg Brown said, Bob Starkey's going to come here. I thought they were pulling my leg. I said, you got to be kidding me. And that was so much fun to be with you for a year, brother. That was
Well, I'm
something
telling you what,
else.
that was a special year of my career.
Yeah.
I was really tired after the run at LSU, and
Yeah.
had literally thought about taking a year off when Joey called an opportunity to work for Greg, and then I get to come hang with you and Donnie and God Kevin would roll into town, and it was such a great learning experience for me. And this is important, Brandon. It's not like this every place. But as a women's coach, when you can work someplace where the men's staff respects you and wants to share, boy, that's an opportunity for growth. And I had that at A&M with Buzz Williams. Coach was so really good to me. I learned so much from him, and again, that 1 year with you guys was special. And when you have that synergy between the two staffs, it just makes everything better.
Yeah, Gary Blair is incredible. I loved him, and man, I thought he was so damn special. And what a thrill for you to go and spend time with a guy like that, for a year. What is the deal with you and Hall of Fame coaches? I mean, like Dale Brown, when you come to LSU, who's we love to death. We love Dale. And then all of a sudden, then you have Sue Gunter, then, and then when you go from Sue to Van Chancellor and now Kim Mulkey, us mere mortals. I mean, you're amazing. The law of attraction, I believe in. So, it's fantastic. What a learning thing, huh?
100%. I said this a million times. There cannot be an assistant coach more blessed than I have. Every single one of them are different.
Mm-hmm.
As you
Yeah.
know, there's so many different ways to coach this game.
Yep.
So each stop, I've had an opportunity to learn, and it's one of the reasons I'm still in the business. This year with Coach Mulkey has been absolutely amazing. I feel so invigorated from watching everything that she does. She has such great attention to detail in everything from practice to game to the fast break club to how the office looks to how clean everything's so important. I describe her as, you can be a thermostat or you can be a thermometer. The thermometer measures the temperature, the thermostat sets it. Let me tell you something. She wakes up in the morning ready to set the temperature. She's just absolutely amazing to work for, and this has been one of the most enjoyable years of my coaching career.
Yeah, Zach, I love head coaches that will, sing their praise of their assistants. It's not an I thing, or it's a we thing. And she had some great comments about you recently. Zach, you want to share some of those, buddy?
Yeah, well, instead of hearing it from me, why don't we just hear it from Coach herself?
Well, I think you're selling Bob short to call him a defensive mastermind. I think Bob is a head coach that chooses not to be a head coach. He can do it all. He's good at when I don't want to get on him, he gets on him. He's good at making suggestions in the game, but not giving me too many suggestions. He is one that loves to be in the film room. I don't. He just has so much knowledge. He's a big book reader. He shares books with our team and has them do reports. I love that. And it also brings new ideas to me as the head coach. But you don't ever want to become stagnant.
That to me, that describes what a hell of an assistant should be, Bob.
Oh, I agree, because you've been one yourself. The most important thing, I told somebody when I came here, the first most important thing I had to do was listen and learn. But then, as you know, as an assistant coach, because we just got through talking about it, all these head coaches are different. So a really good assistant coach can adapt. And each head coach I've worked for needed something a little bit different for me. It's my job to find out what it is and then own that and not overstep those boundaries. We got an amazing staff here. Yep. It's just not me. There's some people here that worked for Kim back in the Baylor days, and this is a well-oiled machine. I tell everybody right now, my claim to fame is I haven't found a way to screw this up yet.
I like that. That is great. You told me on one of our pseudo meetings that we used to have at UCF, I said, Bob, you coached the highest level of men. Now you're coaching women. And this is before I totally fell in love with the women's game. I was an outsider that was fond of it. And you said, and you said to me, and I'm going to maybe screw it up, but you said, Brendan, there's no difference coaching men or women. It's the same thing, right? I mean, as far as, and I don't mean it's the same thing, but coaching's coaching, right?
Well, it is, and again, kind of drifting back to what we talked about with the Tim Elmore discussion is you're coaching individuals. I've coached some men that were a little bit on soft mentally, and so I got to figure out how I can dial them up and get them where they need to want to go, and then I've coached some amazingly competitive women. So for me, people ask me which would I rather coach, and I would rather coach a teachable kid that wants to be the best they can be, whether that's a male or a female.
Sure.
And I've been blessed to coach both. So I could easily go back to the men's side as long as I have the opportunity to coach people with the right attitude and a team first mentality, and that's the key, is coaching the right people.
Boy, that's so good, Bob. One of the things that always amazes me is due to relationships, the incredible relationship and love that you have for some of your awesome players that played for you at LSU women, that, being, Simone and Sylvia, when they're playing in the WNBA, where you would literally follow them to championship level games or to, and then, recently, of course, with, the statue being put out there for Simone. I mean, those are moments that are so special to you, right?
They mean everything to me. When I recruit a kid, I tell them, I'm not going to be your coach for 4 years. I'm going to be your coach forever. And that's everything for me. Dropping them a phone call, a text message, to visiting them. Not just for professional players, but I got a lot of highly successful players in other fields. I love to mail books. They know they're still going to get homework assignments from me. And it's, that's when you did your job right, when a player no longer plays for you but still wants to be part of your life and wants you to be a part of his or hers. And that's by far the most fulfilling thing that happens to me.
The coaches are asking me, what is the most important thing in coaching nowadays? And I say, my 5 keys are, you have to have competency. That's a given to me. I think, that's so important. Then you must have, just amazing integrity with them. They know you're telling them the truth. They have to trust you. They have to know that you care for them. And I even say care and love them. I think love has come into leadership and coaching now in a way that it wasn't there when I started. I think it almost goes to the top for me. And I remember Chuck Daly telling me once, Brendan, you can't fall in love with Joe Dumars. He said, you love him, and he said, we might have to trade him. I said, well, I'm sorry. If we do, then I'll probably quit. I said, but he does everything we want a player to be and do, and so I'm sorry. I love him. And so be it. But I think that's the relationship you get with your players.
Well, it's really fulfilling. And, the best day of my life is when a former player sticks their head in the office or shoots me a picture of their daughter or son playing in a rec league, or
Wow.
A Christmas card. I mean, that's when you know that you made that connection. You talk about challenges with today's kid. And the one that comes up in my mind a lot is consistency. They get so easily bored. I think the absolute greatest are, and there's nobody comes to my mind better than Kobe. Kevin Eastman, our dear friend, tells the best story about how Kobe goes and works on one move for 2 or 3 or 4 hours straight. And Kevin asked him, well, how long do you work on a move? And Kobe says, until. And that's just the most powerful thing. And it's hard now for us to find a kid who work on the same move for maybe 3 or 4 reps, and then they want to go to the next thing. So being consistent and deliberate in what you do on a daily basis is really hard for this generation. And I think if you can find a way to keep kids focused on what's the saying, make sure the main thing's the main thing.
Yep.
Then I think you have a chance to move the needle with them, not just on the court, but off the court.
Bob, as you're going through, and I know you keep going to clinics and stuff, and you teach at clinics. The things that you're trying to emphasize to coaches, high level coaches, let's say, what would be some things that you would recommend to them to help them be successful, other than things that we've talked about a little bit today?
Well, whenever I speak at a clinic, I talk about, I think, the two most important things that we teach, and it's not dribbling, shooting, passing, defense. It's teaching kids to think and talk. And it's always funny, but I've never had a coach disagree with that. But then I'll follow up with, what are you doing on a daily basis to teach thinking and talking? Are you using the structure of your practice to make them have to think and talk? Krzyzewski would use chaos drills. That teaches thinking and talking. There's a great story of Buzz Williams, who used to record his practice and listen to it on a CD in his car so he could hear what his practices were thinking, what they sounded like. Ask your kids sometimes, what does a good practice sound like? And then when I think along those terms, I always think of Don Meyer's great thing. It's not what you teach, it's what you emphasize. So if you want a team that thinks and talks every single day, then you have to put that as part of your structure and practice.
Chuck Daly used to say you can only emphasize two things, and I'm like going, there's so many more things we have to cover. I said, what are the things we're going to emphasize, Chuck? And he said, defense and rebounding. And I said, but every guy on our team wants to shoot. He says, I don't have to emphasize that. That's what they're going to do. He said, I don't have to convince Isaiah to shoot the ball. He said, but I got to emphasize to him that defense and rebounding. And if we're the best rebounding team in the league, we're going to win. And you know what? And Pete Carrillo, I had heard when I was 18 years old at a clinic. As a college student, I went to a clinic and they wouldn't let me in, even though I was paying. They said, this is not for kids. This is not for students. This is for coaches. And I said, well, I want to be one. I'm studying how to be one in school. And they let me come in. And he said, I teach defense and passing.
Of course.
Right. And I never forgot that. And I think that's so important, the emphasis part of it, because you can't emphasize 20 things, unfortunately. You can practice them, but you can't emphasize them, Yeah. But man, this could be a day-long seminar, but I know you're going to try to, get a few more players and try to keep this incredible run going with one of the most exciting teams in the country. I know this is great, but so great for our listeners, Bob, to be able to catch up and hear you, and a treat for Zach and I. Appreciate you so much, man.
Let me tell you something, whether it's on a podcast or at a restaurant or in the back of a gym, I will talk basketball with you any day of the week. I always come away smarter after a conversation with you.
Well, since we're both in Baton Rouge, that means that we're going to Phil's, that we're going to go get some good Cajun food down here. And so my treat. Okay, brother?
Oh, if it's your treat, I'm texting Anthony right now.
We're going to make Anthony buy. We're going to make Anthony
You know what? That's a better idea. Yeah, Anthony, Phil's Oyster Bar on Perkins Road. Yes, in Baton Rouge. Please stop by. And the first iced tea is on us, but that'll be great. I love you, brother, and thank you so much.
Thank you.